How's it going, Martians? Welcome back to the report. And in today's, we're going over a few different articles. One from you today, titled Ripple's CEO Brad Garlinghouse, "The World Doesn't Need 3,000 plus cryptocurrencies." The next article we're going to go after this is Ripple's on-demand liquidity gets another user in Instagram as Army continues to be bullish on outlook. And then we're also going to read over an article here titled Ripple spent a year convincing MoneyGram about XRP, so said Brad Garlinghouse. And there's also a nice little tidbit addition to this that Ripple's XRP is now purchasable with Visa card, courtesy of Binance. So before we jump into the video, obviously, if you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit that subscribe and ring that bell and tune in every day for all XRP related content. Also, if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to hit the like. It helps with getting my YouTube algorithms boosted up and getting this video more views, which obviously helps my channel grow and helps me continue to bring you content on XRP every single day. So, jumping into the video from you today, it begins. In the latest Ripple Drop episode, Ripple executives share their prediction for 2020 and the whole decade. Their words spell a bright future for crypto, but many projects will probably bite the dust. So before we jump into the article, we'll just listen to the Ripple Drop here.
Got some familiar faces, the executive team coming on, share what they think is going to happen in the future and what they learned from the past.
Looking forward in the 2020s, what do you expect for blockchain and crypto?
I think you're going to continue to see consolidation. The world doesn't need 3,000 plus cryptocurrencies out there, and I think the utility will bear out that there'll be a migration to quality, if you will.
But I think we're going to see more growth of blockchain into different use cases. I think the focus is going to be on, can you solve an actual problem? Not do you have a solution that someone might be able to use for something, but do you have something that can solve an actual problem people have?
I think we will see.
So let's consolidate what Brad and David just said. We don't need 3,000 cryptocurrencies, but the ones that are going to survive are going to have a diverse use case across many different use cases, right? Pretty simple stuff, and very important to keep in mind in regards to just how big the vision for XRP is becoming over at Ripple. It seems that Ripple is actually starting to transition from saying, well, XRP is primarily going to be used for international remittances to, well, it seems like we've just about cinched this thread and now have the international remittance market under our thumb. It's just a matter of waiting for the regulation to come through and watching as our partners continue to onboard into this ecosystem. So what other ecosystems can we enter into? Obviously, we've heard David Schwartz talk recently over this year about the microtransaction market in regards to things like tipping or streaming payments for subscription models to, say, web journals or what have you. And so I'm sure that we'll see even more use cases being announced and discussed by the Ripple team in the future. But let's jump back into this here a little bit more.
More traditional banks legging into the space a little bit more aggressively than they have in the last 12 or 24 months, not just using blockchain technology to improve efficiencies on, say, trade settlement or reducing fees around broken trades, etc., but actually thinking about using digital assets, building sales and trading desks, building custody platforms, full service suite offerings around digital assets.
So let's just roll that over into it, right? Again, this is from Ripple saying that it's not just about remittances. 2020 is going to be a year of adoption for institutions in regards to custodying these assets. And custodying is going to have a far different impact on the prices in regards to the fact that now these institutions, instead of just utilizing them for a few seconds at a time as they transfer money around the world, they're actually going to be hodling, right? Just like David Schwartz's ugly Christmas sweater said, ho ho hodl, right? It's a great shirt, by the way, David. Love it. But at any rate, the point being that we're at the precipice of something enormous happening, and 2020 seems to be that year.
Predict that over the next decade, we're going to see blockchain and cryptocurrencies really replace the infrastructure of the entire financial system, and that the way that money moves, somewhere will touch a cryptocurrency, somewhere in that stack.
And so let's take what Ethan Beard just said. Okay, he said over the next decade, right? By 2030, digital assets aren't going to just be used for remittances. They aren't just going to be used in custodying. They're going to replace the entire financial system. This is a multiple quadrillion dollar global economy that will be driven by blockchain-based digital assets. Does that mean that's all going to be through XRP? Obviously not, but it's not going to be through 3,000 different cryptocurrencies. It's going to be through maybe a few hundred, with the mass majority of all that value being moved through maybe 3 to 5, right? At least that's my projection, my prediction, my view on this. And I think that it's one that obviously many people over at Ripple probably agree with, as far as whether or not they're willing to openly proclaim that XRP is going to be the number one or not. I mean, I'm sure that that is their hope, but obviously it would not be becoming of them to be proclaiming such on a global stage where many nations are still fearful of such a digital asset usurping their sovereign power that they are granted through their currencies, right?
The Internet of Value that we are creating is very much coming to life, and I can see blockchain technology merging into other core enabling technologies, and together kind of creating the fourth industrial revolution.
And this is actually why I've been, really kind of experimenting with expanding the channel into talking about other technologies related to the fourth industrial revolution, because blockchain is just one leg of a multi-pronged revolution that we are in the middle of, involving artificial intelligence, automation, which is, artificial intelligence is bringing about things like self-driving and advanced automation, such that you no longer need humans in many of these manufacturing facilities, because the AI has become so sophisticated that you don't need it. And this is also impacting things like call centers, where now if you give a call to a call center, it's actually really challenging, even if you know the trick to press just #0 button until you get a human to speak with. Oftentimes that route will take you over a half hour just to get to speak with a human, with most all call centers now, because everybody wants you to go through their automated service, and these are becoming more advanced, and thus there is even less need for human call center workers. You also are seeing the rise of genetic augmentation through things like CRISPR technologies, and all of these things are going to be products which we're all going to have to pay for, or which will have to have their actions, so the electric cost of the robots or the vehicles or the service fees associated with utilizing these as a consumer, they're going to be facilitated through blockchain, through digital assets. And that's essentially what Marcus is saying here. So, or that wasn't Marcus, that was, who was it that was just speaking? Was it? Oh yeah, it was Marcus, yeah, okay. I thought that we changed people in there. But yeah, that's basically what Marcus is saying here, right? So let's jump back in and finish up the video.
Kind of creating the fourth industrial revolution.
Almost every financial application will be reinvented using this technology. It's just going to take a little bit longer than folks had anticipated to get going.
We're going to see a similar maturation of the industry and boom that we saw with the early days of the internet. I think the growth that we saw with internet businesses and how it just became the new modern infrastructure for communication and all sorts of new industries and verticals, I think we're going to see the same happen with blockchain and the Internet of Value in the next 10 years.
And again, this development, this unfolding, is going to unfold over the next decade. That does not mean that we are going to have to wait a full decade to see our portfolios in digital assets begin to mature. It's just over the next decade is how long it's likely to take for these assets to reach essentially full maturity, where they will begin, where their growth will dramatically slow and the market will be deemed mature. Similar to how Amazon has, Amazon, Google, Facebook, their share prices have begun to reach peak maturity now, almost 20 years after the advent of, or the mass adoption, I guess if you will, of the internet and of their products, of their services. So as we move into the 2020s, it wasn't Ethan Beard, who was it? It wasn't before Monica. It was Ashish. As Ashish was saying, this initial adoption has taken longer than anticipated, but it's still coming, and it's something that obviously we're going to cover in our following articles, right? So to read through the article here, just to get a feel of what You Today is saying, they point out the fact that obviously Brad pointed out that yes, we're going to see continued consolidation of the digital assets, as the world doesn't need 3,000 plus cryptocurrencies out there, and he believes that the utility is going to bear out, that there will be a migration to quality from the assets which have poor, inefficient underlying technologies to ones with more advanced, more efficient algorithms or systems in place for their for them to scale properly to mass adoption, mass utilization. They also point out about Brad Garlinghouse, or about David Schwartz being on the same page as Brad Garlinghouse when it comes to prioritizing quality use cases of blockchain projects, pointing out that that most cryptos, as I think everybody in the XRP community, if you've been around for even a few months, we've heard Brad and we've heard David both say so many times over, is the blockchain that you're looking at a technology in search of a problem, or is it a problem or a solution to an existing problem, right? Or something like that. Essentially, the idea is that most blockchains, they are pretending that that there's going to be a problem, and therefore they're creating the solution before the problem exists, whereas Ripple is creating applications that will utilize XRP to solve problems that already exist, right? So the article concludes here with a crypto disruption, going to Ethan Beard, the the SVP of Ripple investment arm at Spring, being convinced that blockchain and crypto could potentially replace the global financial infrastructure. Meanwhile, Marcus Stretcher, the Senior Vice President of Customer Success, predicts that blockchain will merge with other core enabling technologies, appearing at the forefront of the fourth industrial revolution. And this is actually important. I don't know that he said forefront, but maybe he did. Maybe I just missed that. Let's just, he says that it's creating the fourth industrial revolution, but essentially that is kind of like the idea that it's at the forefront, and the fourth industrial revolution is something that we're actually like smack dab at the very beginning of. It's actually an unfolding event. We're living in history right now as it's being made in our daily lives, and that can seem slow at times, but it's kind of like how to go back to the internet, how when the internet first emerged, and I guess since this article actually has gotten me going a lot on a tangent, we're going to cover the other 3 articles in follow-up videos, or in a follow-up video. So if you want to hear those, please go check out the follow-up videos. They'll be out later today. But to really drive home on this fourth industrial revolution, and why my content is so is why I'm trying to really steer a lot of my community members and you towards paying attention to these other trends that are going on in the world, is because the world's a lot bigger than just blockchain. It's a lot bigger than just XRP. And while I'm not trying to promote people to go and invest in Tesla or into these other companies that I'm going to be talking about or that I have talked about in the past, such as AGI, it's important to understand that these emergent trends are going to actually have an impact on the potential future value of our current investment in XRP, because again, XRP and a few other digital assets that succeed in this ecosystem are going to be the underpinning of the new global financial system, which will underpin all technologies and trends that emerge on top of it and bring further value to the financial industry, to our currencies, right? To our mediums of exchange, whatever they may be, XRP, XLM, whatever your flavor is, Tezos, whatever ones succeed, their value will appreciate based upon the growth of the global economy as a result of the production being brought into our economy as a result of the fourth industrial revolution unfolding. All right. So the article concludes saying that Monica Long, Senior Vice President of Marketing, claims that she will see a similar maturation of the industry and a boom that will be similar to the early days of the internet. And what I want to point out to this quote that I didn't actually, when talking about Monica's point earlier, is that this is essentially Monica saying that we haven't even seen the .com bubble equivalent in the digital asset ecosystem. And I think this is something that many people in our community have said before. I believe digital asset investors said this last year, actually, because the peak of the .com bubble, it was like tens of trillions of dollars at its peak. And in the peak of the 2017 digital asset bull run, didn't even get the total market cap to 1 trillion. That was just the initial spree. That was just the birth of a marketplace. Because really that was the birth of the marketplace. The 2017 bull run was facilitated by the emergence of hundreds and then thousands of new digital assets with new use cases and new ideas behind them and what they would be used for. That was the birth of an industry, not the mania that will come to what will be the big dog players in this new ecosystem. And so it's very likely that we're going to see another boom followed by a subsequent bust cycle in which we will see even further consolidation from the however many tens, 50, 100 digital assets emerge as successful, productive, valuable assets in the 2020s bull run whenever it occurs, be it in 2020, 2022. As many of you know, I still am sticking to my guns that 2021 is the end of 2021 is really when I truly expect that we're going to see serious returns on whatever we've put into the market at this point. Now, 2020, I've been saying recently that I think that it's going to be a very good year, and that's more so because I expect 2020 to be us forming the bull, and the bull is the bottom, right? If you look at previous trends, after a bear cycle, the market goes flat, and then it slowly corrects back to its previous all-time high. And I think that's what 2020 will facilitate. 2019 was the left side of the bowl. 2020 is going to be the right side of the bowl. And that's when we're going to see, 2018 through 2019 was the left side of the bowl. 2020 into 2021 should be the right side, where we see the price begin to return again to the $3.84 range, its previous all-time high. And then going into 2021, that's when I really expect us to start seeing numbers that are just going to be mind-boggling. Now, a lot of people, when they view my content, they think that when I'm saying that XRP is going to prices like $100 or $250 or $1,000 or $10,000, that I'm trying to mislead people into believing that this is going to happen overnight. But that's never been the point. The point is that this is going to occur over years. But this is the time now to invest, because this is the moment of maximum financial opportunity to those who take advantage of getting involved in this ecosystem. Now, again, not financial advice to anybody out there. As always, I encourage everybody to do their own research, because I am not a financial advisor. I'm just somebody who has spent half a decade now researching this ecosystem and being glued to my monitor, reading articles like this, reading news from, not reading news, well, yes, reading news, but also watching actual videos from financial meetings and economic forums, and really teaching myself how this whole global financial system operates. But I, again, do not have a degree, and I do not have any credentials to be advocating to anybody what to do with their own funds. And that's why I say, not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. It's not me saying that, me trying to protect my own rear from somebody trying to come and sue me. It's me just being honest with you that, this is who I am. And XRP is something that I deeply believe in. Otherwise, I would not still be creating content while the price is below 20 cents, despite me investing, a lot of money when the price was nearly twice what it is now, and continuing to put more and more money into this each and every 2 weeks essentially that I can put money in. And just take my word with a grain of salt. Please do your own research. And with that, I'm going to end this one. I did intend, as I said at the beginning, to get into these other two articles, but we will cover those in a follow-up video, because I believe this one's already gotten up to probably close to 20 minutes. So I will see all of you in the next one, as always, on Mars.